I paid off my family's debts for years. I thought it was love, until my mom forged a loan in my name. "You destroyed this family with your truth," she screamed. And what I did in court left them completely speechless. "You weren't invited, Miles. It was family only." That's what my stepsister told me as I stared at the glowing photo of all of them in Mexico. My mom, my stepdad Roy, Delaney, and her boyfriend, laughing under palm trees, drinks in hand, pool behind them. I'd just sent Roy $2,000 the week before to help fix a plumbing issue in the garage. And I wasn't invited. I'm Miles, 29, and I've been the financial backbone of my family since I was barely old enough to rent a car. My dad died when I was 12. By the time I hit 18, Roy, my stepfather, had moved in, bringing with him a greasy smile and 2 kids who suddenly became my siblings. My mom was fragile back then. She said Roy saved her. She meant he paid her bills. But I was the one paying for everything else. I worked through college, took on 2 jobs, and built a remote tech career that allowed me to live comfortably, but not extravagantly. Roy never worked a stable job for more than a year. My mom started treating me like a backup plan, the one she could lean on when Roy's projects failed. And Delaney, my stepsister, she was the princess. Never paid rent. Never bought her own textbooks. Never once said thank you. And I never complained. I paid Delaney's tuition 2 semesters in a row. I helped Roy co-sign the loan on his auto repair shop, thinking maybe, just maybe, it would give them stability. I wired my mom money whenever she said she couldn't breathe under the bills. And every time I told myself, they're family, I have to. But something inside me cracked the night I saw that photo. They had told me the year-end dinner was canceled, that Roy was sick, that Delaney had finals, that money was tight. I believed them. Until I saw that photo, posted by Delaney on Instagram with the caption, "Our little escape." Family only, my heart stopped. I stared at it for minutes, zooming in on every smile, every raised glass. My mom wore the necklace I gave her for her birthday. Roy had on the aviators I got him last Christmas. Even Delaney's emergency medical expense turned out to be a beachside pedicure. I wanted to believe there was a mistake, that maybe they meant to tell me, that it was some weird surprise. So I called my mom. She picked up after 5 rings, voice casual. "Miles, everything okay?" I didn't even know how to start. "Are you on vacation right now?" She hesitated. "We just took a little breather. Roy's been stressed." "Right. So the dinner's not canceled. You just didn't want me there." "Miles, don't start. You work so much. We figured you wouldn't even want to come." "You didn't even ask." She sighed, and that's when I heard Delaney in the background. "Tell him not to make this a thing. It was family only." Family only. That phrase stuck in my skull like a nail. I hung up without saying another word. That night, I didn't sleep. I scrolled through my Venmo history, stared at transfer after transfer. $800 for Roy's new tires, $400 for Delaney's books, $2,000 here, $1,500 there. They had drained me. But what hurt more than the money was the realization that I was never part of their real family. I was their wallet, their convenience, their safety net. The next day, I went quiet. Didn't text, didn't check social media. Then 3 days later, I got a message from Roy. "Hey bud, any chance you could float us $500? The AC's busted and it's brutal out here." No apology, no mention of Mexico. Just a request, like nothing had happened. I stared at the message and felt something in me die. For the first time, I didn't answer. That afternoon, I got a group text from Delaney with a photo from the trip. Everyone was toasting with coconut drinks, and the caption said, "Wouldn't be the same without our tribe." I wasn't in the tribe. I never was. So I replied, publicly, "Next time you use my money for your family trip, at least be honest and call it what it is. Fraud." The thread went silent. Then came the storm. Mom called. Twice. Left voicemails. "Miles, that was inappropriate. You know we love you. You just overreacted." Delaney messaged, "Wow, are you seriously having a breakdown? Get over yourself." Roy texted, "Don't air dirty laundry. You know better. Be a man." Be a man? I paid their bills. I co-signed a loan for Roy. I covered Delaney's failed credit card debt. I was the man, the only adult in that house. And now they wanted me to stay quiet? That night, I opened a folder on my laptop. I started organizing. Screenshots of bank transfers, text messages, audio recordings, photos, even the documents from the loan Roy begged me to co-sign, promising he'd refinance it himself within 6 months. That was 3 years ago. I wasn't planning revenge. Not yet. I was collecting proof, just in case. And then, the next morning, something happened that changed everything. I got a notification from my bank. A new loan application had been submitted in my name. Auto repair business refinance. $38,000, attached to Roy's shop. My name, my credit, my information. But I hadn't signed a thing. And when I called the bank to ask about it, they told me someone had submitted scanned documents with my signature. Except, I never signed anything. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. And for the first time, I didn't feel betrayed. I felt dangerous. The moment I heard the bank agent say, "Sir, the documents were signed and submitted digitally under your name," something in me broke. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stared at my laptop, the cursor blinking over an empty chat with Roy. This man had forged my signature. He had submitted a $38,000 refinance loan application using my credit without a single word to me. And worse, he had done it with the confidence of someone who knew I'd never fight back, because I never had. I took care of that family for over a decade. Paid bills, cleared debts, paid for braces, car repairs, therapy sessions, even an ugly shag rug my mom had to have for the living room. I showed up. I stepped in. I sacrificed. And they turned around and stole from me. Legally. The bank said they'd open an investigation, but I knew what that meant. Delays, paperwork, long phone calls. Meanwhile, that loan was already pending final approval. It would hit my credit within days. So I asked the rep the question I never thought I'd say aloud. If someone forged my name, is that a criminal offense? There was a pause. Yes, sir. It can be, especially if there's intent to defraud. There it was, the word no one in my family had ever used with each other. Fraud. That night, I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I stared at my screen, reading and rereading every message Roy ever sent me. You're the rock of this family. We'd fall apart without you. Just one more thing, buddy. I had been raised to believe love meant sacrifice. That family came first. But no one told me what to do when family became the ones holding the knife. By noon the next day, I made 3 calls. 1 to the bank's fraud department to formally dispute the loan. 2 to a lawyer to ask what my options were. 3, and finally, to Roy. He didn't answer, so I texted, "You forged my signature. The bank's investigating. I suggest you find a lawyer." 10 minutes later, my phone rang. It was my mom. "Miles, what's going on?" "You should ask your husband," I said. "Roy said you're overreacting. He said you offered to help and forgot." "I offered to help 3 years ago. I didn't sign anything this week." She went quiet. Then she said something that made my skin crawl. "Miles, honey, can't you just let this go? You know he didn't mean harm. We're family. Let it go. He forged my name, applied for tens of thousands of dollars, using my credit, without my permission." And my mother's response was, "Let it go." I hung up. I didn't call back when she tried again, or when Delaney messaged, "Wow, Miles. Dragging us through legal stuff now? Seriously? Seriously?" I opened a folder on my computer labeled Backup. Inside were screenshots, years of receipts, text threads, voice memos. I saved every instance they'd asked for help, every promise to pay me back, every time they said, "You're the only one we can count on." I wasn't preparing revenge. I was preparing for survival. 3 days passed. The bank confirmed the signatures on the documents didn't match previous ones on file. The loan was frozen. My credit was safe. For now. That same night, Roy showed up outside my apartment, unannounced, standing on the front step with a bottle of cheap wine and a crooked smile. "Let me explain," he said. "You can't be here," I told him. "Miles, come on. It was a misunderstanding." "You forged my name." He looked around as if the streetlight might hear him. "I used the digital tool we had before, from the auto loan. Remember? That tool required my consent. You didn't have it." He scoffed. "You're making this bigger than it needs to be." I stepped back. "If you don't leave, I'm calling the cops." He didn't argue, just muttered something about ungrateful kids and walked off, wine bottle still in hand. I stood there shaking, not because I was scared, because I realized I'd finally done it. I said no, and it felt powerful, but the high didn't last. The next morning, my phone exploded with notifications. Delaney had posted a photo of Roy holding my baby photo from our living room. Caption, "Some people forget who raised them, who sacrificed everything for them." Sad I scrolled through the comments. Family friends calling me heartless. Old classmates chiming in with, "Must be nice to throw your family away." Even my aunt liked the post. I didn't comment. I posted my own photo instead. A picture of the loan document with the forged signature. Captioned, "If family means forgery, I'll pass." I didn't tag anyone, but they knew, because 20 minutes later, my mom called. "How dare you?" she screamed. "You humiliated us. Roy's reputation is ruined." He ruined it himself. "You don't do this to your family." I held the phone away from my ear. "You did this to me first." Click. 2 hours later, I got an email from a local news blog. Apparently, Roy had been reported by someone anonymous to the Small Business Bureau for fraudulent activity. The story was short, but public. That night, I received a DM from an account I didn't recognize. No profile photo. No name. Just one message. "You don't know what you've started." I stared at it for a long time. Because I did know. I wasn't just breaking away. I was burning it down. The week after my post went viral felt like living in a pressure cooker. Every hour, something cracked. First, it was the comments. People asking questions, calling out my mom and Roy, even tagging the bank. Then came the phone calls. Not from them, of course. They'd gone radio silent. But from numbers I didn't recognize. Some local, some blocked. One of them left a voicemail. "You think you're the only one who's ever been hurt by family? Grow up." It wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was the silence from the people who used to know me. My uncle, who I'd fixed a busted radiator for last year. My cousin, who I helped move across state. Not one of them reached out. It was like I'd been erased from a script I didn't write but had been performing in for years. And then, just when I thought it couldn't escalate further, it did. I was in line at the grocery store when my phone buzzed. Roy's repair shop. Permanent closure. A public post. The business was done. Gone. I read the caption twice. "Due to recent betrayals and malicious interference from a certain individual, we are being forced to shut down. Some people destroy everything they touch." I nearly dropped my phone. He was blaming me. The guy who gave him the down payment for that shop, who signed as co-owner when no bank would look at him twice. I was the villain now. The liar. The traitor. By the time I got home, my inbox was on fire. Someone had leaked my address. A package was waiting on my doorstep. No name, no return label. Just a single manila envelope. Inside, printouts. Screenshots of my old text messages to Roy and my mom. Cropped, edited, stripped of context. Messages like, "Of course I'll help you. Anything for family. I trust you, Roy." They were being used against me, as proof that I was lying, that I had consented to the loan. And taped to the bottom of the envelope was a post-it note. "Maybe next time, think before you destroy what built you." I locked the door, closed the blinds, and just sat there. I wasn't angry in that moment. I was tired. Tired of being the bigger person. Tired of carrying everyone else's weight. Tired of pretending that loyalty meant silence. That love meant never fighting back. So I did the one thing I'd avoided for years. I called my dad's brother. "Uncle Theo." He answered on the third ring. "Miles?" "Yeah, sorry to call out of nowhere." "It's not out of nowhere. I've been watching everything." "You have?" He sighed. "I didn't want to get involved unless I had to. But I saw what Roy and your mom are doing. You're not crazy. You're not wrong." That's all it took. One sentence, one affirmation, and suddenly I couldn't breathe. I told him everything. The fake signature, the gaslighting, the online shaming, the envelope. And when I was done, he didn't say, "I'm sorry." He said, "You want help?" Yes. Yes, I did. He showed up the next day with a legal friend of his. A real one. Not some greasy local guy like Roy always bragged about knowing. They helped me draft a formal cease and desist for defamation and filed a fraud report that would block Roy from using my credit in any way ever again. It felt like taking my name back. Like taking me back. But the peace didn't last long. Because that night came the twist I never saw coming. I got a call. Blocked number. I let it go to voicemail. When I played it back, I nearly dropped my phone. It was Delaney. Her voice was trembling. Quiet. "Miles, I didn't know how far it had gone. I swear I thought it was just a formality. Roy told me you approved everything, that you offered to co-sign again. He showed me fake emails, fake messages. I believed him. I'm so sorry. I should have questioned it. I should have protected you. But I didn't." She paused. "They forged more than your signature, Miles. They forged your trust in all of us. And now I'm scared. Because I think they're planning something else. Something worse. Please call me." I sat in the dark for a long time after that. Not because I didn't believe her, but because part of me still wanted to. I wanted someone to be innocent. I wanted someone, anyone in that house to have truly loved me. But maybe that's the heartbreak no one talks about. That sometimes the people you break your back for won't even bend a little for you. That sometimes love doesn't die. It gets replaced. With fear, with guilt, with silence. I don't know what Roy and my mom are planning next. But if you've ever been made to feel like your pain is an inconvenience or your boundaries are betrayal, I see you. I am you. And I'm done pretending it didn't hurt. I didn't respond to Delaney's voicemail, not because I didn't care, but because at that point, I couldn't tell the difference between her guilt and her survival instinct. Was she really sorry? Or did she just realize the ship was sinking and needed a lifeboat? Either way, I wasn't going to be it. Instead, I focused on the one thing they never thought I'd have the nerve to do: fight back. And not just emotionally, legally, publicly, strategically. For weeks, I'd been collecting pieces of the puzzle: bank statements, email threads, call logs, text messages. But now, it was time to build the full picture. So I went back. Back through every dollar I'd ever transferred, every expense I'd ever helped with. I made a spreadsheet. Roy's tire shop, $12,500 Delaney's tuition, $7,800 Mom's emergency dental surgery, $2,300 Christmas trip I wasn't invited to, $4,000 in prepaid bookings, miscellaneous, $19,000 plus, and the forged loan, $38,000, all under my name. The total hit $83,600. 83,000. I had paid for their lives and the lies. So I sent one email to a friend from college, now an investigative journalist with a local outlet. I didn't have to say much. Just attached a folder titled Family Fraud. His reply came within hours. "Are you sure you want this public?" I replied, "I was never supposed to speak. That's why I have to." The article dropped a week later. Title: Son claims stepfather forged loan documents after years of financial exploitation. It wasn't clickbait. It was truth. And it spread fast. Within hours, Roy's shop Yelp page was flooded. His business account on Instagram disappeared. But the real fireworks came the next morning, because someone had shared the article with the local licensing board. Turns out, Roy wasn't just sleazy. He wasn't even legally certified to run a mechanic's shop. He'd been operating under a fake certification number for over a year. The board opened an investigation. His business license? Suspended. And still he had the audacity to text me. "You've made your point. Let it go. Before this gets uglier." I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded that message to the journalist. It made the follow-up article's closing line even better. Despite evidence piling up, Roy Jenkins remains unapologetic, texting his accuser to let it go before this gets uglier. Now the public saw the man I knew behind closed doors, but it didn't stop there. The bank officially blacklisted him from applying under my name again. The forged documents triggered an audit. And that's when the real twist came. A twist that made my stomach drop. Because during the audit, they found another loan, one I didn't know about, filed a year ago, in my name, for $9,400, approved, used, gone. It wasn't just Roy this time. It was my mother. She had used saved scans of my ID and signature, probably from the time I helped her apply for a credit card 5 years ago, and used them to open a personal line of credit. My own mother. I stared at the screen, jaw clenched so tight it hurt. I called the bank immediately and asked if there were any phone records linked to the application. There were. They sent me a recorded verification call, and it was her voice. Calm, sweet, rehearsed. "Yes, that's correct. Miles Jenkins. Yes, I approve this credit line." It was like listening to someone impersonate me through a mask of love. My own mother. The one who used to cut the crust off my sandwiches. The one who cried when I got accepted into college. The one who told me, "Don't ever forget, family comes first." She didn't mean me. She meant herself. The betrayal didn't even feel sharp. It felt hollow, like the collapse of something I'd been leaning on that had never really been there. That night, I didn't rage. I didn't scream. I printed everything out. All of it. And I mailed it. To my mother's house. No letter. No threat. Just the truth. Let her open that envelope and hear herself on tape. Let her face her own signature beside mine. Let her sit in silence the way I did. But before I turned off my phone for the night, I posted one last thing. No tags. No names. Just a message. Some people say blood is thicker than water, but water doesn't forge your name, drain your bank account, and call it love. To those who've been there, who've been burned by the hands that once held you, I see you. You're not alone, and you're not weak. Speaking up isn't betrayal. It's survival. I knew things were reaching their final act the moment I received the subpoena. Not for me. For them. A fraud investigation had been opened by the bank, and with the evidence I'd submitted, the forged signature, the audio recordings, the bank's own verification logs, it wasn't just a closed case. It was a damning one. Roy and my mother were named in the report. Delaney wasn't. She had never signed anything, but I'd be lying if I said I saw her as innocent. Their lawyer, a new one, called me the next day. "Miles, we'd like to resolve this amicably, perhaps through mediation." I laughed. Mediation? For what? You can't mediate a knife wound. He paused. Your family is willing to offer a public apology, retract the social media posts, and drop any claims of slander if you withdraw the fraud complaint. It was almost comical. They burned my credit, my name, my peace of mind, and now they wanted to settle it with a caption edit. I hung up. That was the last time I spoke to anyone on their side. The hearing was set for 2 weeks later. Small courtroom, no jury, just facts. I showed up with my attorney, my documentation, and the full timeline in hand. Roy didn't even look at me. My mom wore all black, as if she were at a funeral. In a way, she was. Because that day, the woman who once called me her rock had to sit through the court reading out every financial exploitation act they committed, line by line. The fake loan, the previous credit card, the impersonation, the business license fraud. It didn't end in prison, but it didn't have to. The judge ruled in my favor. Roy lost his business license permanently. They were ordered to pay restitution for the unauthorized loan plus legal damages, nearly $50,000. My mom's credit history was flagged and locked. Her social media presence? Vanished. The community they once proudly paraded in, neighborhood barbecues, church fundraisers, holiday parties, they were no longer welcome. Because the worst kind of justice isn't always behind bars. It's being seen for what you really are. After the ruling, as I stepped outside into the cold afternoon air, I found Delaney waiting for me by the steps. She didn't speak, just handed me a small box. "I know it doesn't fix anything," she said softly, "but it's everything I saved from what they did. Notes, copies, even a phone recording. I didn't know what to do with it. Maybe now you will." I took the box. I didn't thank her, but I nodded, and I walked away. A week later, I moved. New apartment, new city. For the first time in years, I woke up in a place that didn't carry someone else's expectations on the walls. No reminders, no guilt, just silence. And in that silence, I learned something. Closure doesn't arrive like a grand announcement. It's not a headline. It's not a courtroom ruling. It's the quiet moment you realize you don't owe anyone the version of yourself they tried to create. They raised me to be the one who stayed silent, who swallowed pain, who never fought back. But they underestimated what happens when a quiet person finally speaks. Because in the end, I didn't just take my name back. I made them remember it. I used to think setting boundaries was selfish. Now I know it's survival. People will take from you until there's nothing left to hold. So hold the line. Even if it shakes. Even if it hurts. And if you've ever been used, silenced, or made to feel like love was a transaction, you're not alone. Please share your story in the comments. I read everyone. And if this resonated, maybe stay. I'm not just telling my story anymore. I'm here for yours too.